Okay, what is up? Today we are ranking the Zelda games.
Yeah, not much else to say. We're going to be doing the Zelda games. I think Zelda, throughout my uh, upbringing, I guess, has been a pretty influential game for me. I think it's consistently been one of my favorite franchises since I first started with Ocarina of Time way back when. But yeah, it's a really great game series. We're going to rank them today, or the ones
Yeah.
we played at least.
Yeah. So we've only included
Yeah,
the ones that at least one of us has played.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Uh, right. Let's start from the left this time.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this one.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, this one's Breath of the Wild. Obviously a very popular one today. It's the
Yeah.
most recent mainline Zelda game. Uh, and I personally am not a fan of it in certain ways. It gets a lot of hype, but it's just not a Zelda game. Like I think it's a good game. It's a fun game to play, and I enjoy playing it. I've played a good amount of it, but I can't rank it high on a Zelda tier list because it's not a good Zelda game. Like there is no sense of progression. You don't get any items. The dungeons are so lackluster. And to me, those are two huge parts of Zelda that just were totally not present.
Yeah, I mean, we briefly talked about this last week, and initially I was going to say that Breath of the Wild was an amazing game, but I never really considered what your point of view was that it isn't really a Zelda game. It's more just a really good game, but it's not a really good Zelda game. You know, all the other Zelda games have like items you can unlock, and then through that you can do different puzzles, and there's different dungeons and puzzles in those dungeons and bosses and all that stuff. And while Breath of the Wild has some of that, it doesn't really feel like a Zelda game in like the way that you said. So for that, we can't really rank it high. And I think where you have it now is fine,
Okay.
just because it. I mean, it is a really good game,
Yeah.
but yeah, just not a good Zelda game.
Yeah. And in some senses, it does very well with like the lore, I think. It's a very fun world to be in, and it feels like it does well on like keeping what we had with Zelda. We see the Zoras, we see like the Rito, all this stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, we've we've gotten that cat out of the bag. It's not going to be ranked so highly, despite
Yeah,
what people might want.
we're gonna lose half of our viewers from that. So a total of one viewer is gonna leave from
Cool. So, Link Between Worlds. Uh, I so I've played A Link to the Past a little bit,
that.
not too much, but it seems like you're the one who played A Link Between Worlds, so you might
Yeah,
have more to say.
I played the remake. I believe it was on the 3DS. The gimmick in this game is you can phase into the wall, and it goes from a 3D game into like a 2D game, and there's some kind of puzzles you do with that. Other than that, I don't think it was a very unique game compared to other Zelda games. It was more just another one of the Zelda games. The dungeons were all right. The puzzles were cool, but too nothing that struck out to me too crazy, other than just the gimmick of going into the 2D walls. I wouldn't put it too high as far as the other Zelda games go. I think maybe in C, a high C probably, because it was an enjoyable Zelda experience. I think we should highlight the fact that it was Zelda experience, which is why I'd put it above Breath of the Wild, but nothing too unique about that game compared to the other ones.
Yeah, cool. Link's Awakening. This is
Yes,
the one
I
that
believe
I've
this was
played.
you. Yeah, it was you.
Right. And this, I think, is an example of how you can change the Zelda formula a little bit or experiment with Zelda without losing the core of what Zelda is. So Link's Awakening is a little bit different from some of the other Zelda games. It wasn't developed by Nintendo, I don't think.
Oh,
Like to list like some differences, the main thing I'm thinking right now is that you can sort of set your items. So like you set your sword and shield, like your B and A item. You
oh.
could set it to whatever, but I feel like in most Zeldas, you like always have your sword on you.
Hmm.
Um, that's like a smaller difference, but I think in general, like it feels a little bit different. There's like maybe more exploration actually you can do than a normal Zelda game. It's a little bit less linear probably. Um, but still you have like items that you need to get to certain places and you have like good dungeons that are like varied and interesting. Um, yeah, this Zelda game doesn't take place in Hyrule or anything.
Oh, okay.
So it feels different for that reason as well.
It's just an island, correct?
Yeah, it's just on
Okay.
this island. I think it's really good. Uh, I would be comfortable with a high B or a low A.
Okay. I'll
Um,
give you total control of this.
yeah, I think I'll stick it in high A for now or
Okay.
low A.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Majora's Mask,
hmm I
opening
played this one.
remarks.
Did you play this one?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I'll say about this one is, I think the whole time limit thing is pretty unique. If you guys don't know, there's a certain amount of days in which you have to kind of do things in the world. Otherwise, the moon's going to crash into Hyrule and everyone's going to die. And I think that was a cool aspect of the game. I don't remember too much of it. I think the water temple was really cool in this game. I think you go to like a beach and then you go into the ocean to the water temple or something like that.
right.
Like I said, I don't remember too much, but from what I do remember, and like all the mask things, you could change your character depending on the mask. That was really cool. What I remember from that, I'd want to put it in high A. I think it was a really solid Zelda game, but I'll let you speak on it more.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was made using like a lot of the same stuff from Ocarina of Time,
Yeah,
which I think was a good thing. I mean, Ocarina of Time was
definitely.
great, but it also changed, the mechanics a little bit. Again, I think this explored a little bit outside of the typical Zelda formula without losing the key aspects. I thought it was cool how you got the masks for, there were like basic masks, which I don't know, like made you faster, like did small things, but then there were also the ones that like changed you into like the different races.
hmm
Uh, which thinking about it now, I don't know, Link's a little might be in some hot water for that
Yeah, a
actually.
little
But
controversial.
yeah, but transforming into the other races was cool.
Yeah,
Um,
especially with the Zora one. The Zora one was really cool.
yeah, Zoro one is cool.
Yeah,
I like the Deku one
yeah,
too.
that one was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, all around just a solid Zelda game, I
yeah,
think.
totally.
Yeah,
Cool.
yes.
Minish Cap. I think this one's
Okay.
you.
This one is me. Yeah, I played this one on my phone on a GBA thing. I beat the game, but like a Link Between Worlds, I don't think there was anything crazy special about this game. It was an enjoyable like experience. The journey was cool. The gimmick with this one, if you don't know, is he had a hat that shrunk him. And I think that was, from what I remember at least, that was the only real gimmick of that one, like the only thing that set it apart. It was fun. I enjoyed it. The puzzles were cool, but I wouldn't put it anywhere near what our A tier is currently. I'd probably put it high C, maybe just below A Link Between Worlds. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a good spot for it. It was a decent Zelda game. I enjoyed it.
Uh, I don't know anything else about it, but I thought it looked cool, like the art. Um,
Yeah, it did look
yeah,
really cool. I'll give it that.
cool. Ocarina of Time. Um, Ocarina of Time is, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, my favorite Zelda game. And like one of my favorite games,
Hmm.
like period. Uh, it was, I think, the first like real Zelda game I played.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's true. And maybe I'm biased because it was my first, but I feel like it does the formula perfectly.
Yeah.
You have like I think very cool items. I think the dungeons are super strong. There's also like a fun mechanic of like changing between adult and young Link, which I think is a lot of fun to play with. But I mean, if I'm really gonna say what's the best part of Ocarina of Time, it's just the dungeons. I think they're super well done and like the best dungeons in any Zelda game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that Ocarina of Time is like the perfect example of a Zelda game. It's linear, but it's not in your face. It doesn't really feel like like you don't really feel forced into a path. It more just feels like you're going along on like a journey, you know? I don't think that there's really anything bad I could say about the game. Like you said, the dungeons were amazing. The world was really cool. Yeah, it was all around a great Zelda game. I think it'd be a disservice for us not to give it an S tier. You know? Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes.
Great. So the Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah.
This one's
You
also
didn't play
you.
this one, right? Yes. So Phantom Hourglass was actually a really cool Zelda game. Um, when I first got into it, I was really off put because the way you move around is you move. You remember on the DS there was that little stick
Yeah.
that you could use? You walk around by dragging that on your screen.
Mm,
And that was really, really weird for me to get used to when I first started playing the game, to the point where I even stopped. But I came back, I think like maybe a year later, and what I found was a really, really good Zelda game. Um, the big thing with this one is that I forget what the hourglass. Oh no, I remember now. So basically, how it works is on the island that you start the game, there's a dungeon, and this is the final dungeon of the game, the like big dungeon, and this is where you finish the game. You can enter it whenever you want. You can go back and forth, but the thing is, in order for you to beat it, you need to go adventure to the other dungeons because doing that gives you more time on your hourglass. So unless you do
mm,
that first, I don't even think it's possible to do it from the start of the game. I think you at least have a few like more sand in your hourglass. But basically, you have a time limit when you enter the dungeon, and until that time runs out, you can adventure through the dungeon and you can beat it if you have enough time, pretty much. I think it was really cool. You had a boat and that you could customize it. You'd find pirates every now and then. You could fight them on the water. It's not really a traditional Zelda game when it comes to exploring, but I think it does the dungeons pretty well compared to other Zelda games. I think it's definitely at least a B tier. I really liked Phantom Hourglass.
maybe
I
right
think I'll
here.
put a high B for now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
it was a great game.
Yeah. You also had like a cool partner guy, right? I'm thinking.
Is
Uh,
there a cool partner guy?
Sort of like a pirate looking guy. Uh,
Oh, I think
like
you're
an
thinking of
overcoat
Zelda.
maybe.
Zelda
Oh
was like
no, I'm not
was
thinking about the the
no.
the big burly. I think there's a we can talk about it later, but I think there's like a guy who's like in your boat or something. Hey, you should know,
Does it
and I
look?
shouldn't. So
Are you sure that
I
it's a
will
guy?
defer to you. I think it's a guy, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll talk afterwards.
um, okay, Skyward Sword. I don't think you played this one, right?
No, I didn't play this one.
So I played this one. I think this one's really good. I think it's a solid Zelda. It does everything that a Zelda should. It I feel like when it came out, people were like, "Oh, this is very different," because there was like a stamina bar,
Oh,
which I mean, it was the first time Zelda did it. It's a little weird,
mhm.
but and also the controls. It was on the Wii, and the controls were like very focused on the like, uh,
Yeah.
like
That's all I
there were
remember
certain
about it.
things where it's like I think they touted the combat system where it's like, oh, the enemy will hold their sword like this, so you have to strike like that instead of like that, or else they'll block it.
Oh, I see.
Which I found really cool. If you wanted, you could just and you would like win every battle.
Uh-huh.
Except for I think the bosses. The bosses were sometimes a little harder. But
Mhm.
uh I thought the combat system was cool if you wanted to just like be serious. Like, oh, like it
Yeah,
felt
like
cool to me.
mhm.
Um, Beyond that, like I think the villain in this one's pretty cool. Dug myself in a hole because I just said he's cool, but I can't remember his name. Yeah. And then the final boss is like the mice, which is like the precursor to Ganon.
Oh,
It does like a lot for the lore, I think, of Zelda.
mhm.
And for all this, I think it would be like an A and like above Link's Awakening.
Okay. Yeah, if you think so, I'm happy with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we both played this one, Twilight Princess.
Yes. Do you want to start or should I?
Feel free.
So I think okay, it's either between Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess as far as which Zelda game I played first. I'm not really sure which one it was, but definitely without a doubt, Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game. And I'm honestly shocked that more people don't feel that way. I think Twilight Princess was an amazing game. All the dungeons I think were amazing except for There was one I think that was pretty lackluster, but I can't really remember right now. You like all the bosses were really unique. There were items in this game that you didn't really get in other games. Like there was the Beyblade one. I don't think that's in any other Zelda game. And there was also the ball and chain, which was epic. um, you fight a dragon in one of the things. You have double claw shots. It was honestly, without a doubt, my favorite Zelda game. I think the whole thing with Midna was great. She was such an amazing character, and I think this was the only Zelda game that actually like I was emotionally invested in. Do you like? I remember when Midna was like dying, and we had to like
Yeah,
bring her to Hyrule Castle. That was like the most like high like stress thing that I've encountered in my youth. You know, I think
yeah,
this is easily the best game for me here. But
yeah.
you have to say,
I definitely think it's an S. I think it. There was a time where I liked Twilight Princess the most as well, but it was right after I played it, so I was a little bit biased. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think that the theme though is maybe a little bit drab sometimes. Like
understandable.
it's very dark,
Yeah.
which they're trying to do,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I think it's just a bit much at times because there are certain areas in the world where it's not like supposed to be that dark. Like like when you're in Hyrule, like there's like this bug girl.
Oh, are you talking about when you first enter the zones and it's like all dark and you have to collect the light?
Not even that. Like even after you fix everything,
Mhm.
like just the art style, like is
Oh,
sort of drained of color, you know, which I'm not a huge fan of. Like I feel like it could have been even better if, you know, once you restored the light to some of these places, it was even more vibrant than it is, and it looked closer to like Skyward Sword.
okay.
Um, Regardless, it's like a super great Zelda game,
Mhm.
and I agree, like the best aside from Ocarina of Time, in my opinion.
Um,
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, no, please.
Well, what I will say for that is I actually really like the dark theme. I think this one is the most like mature of the games in that it like there's some pretty like dark stuff and it's pretty obviously like a gloomy thing. I think this one takes place after doesn't this one take place after like the hero dies in Ocarina of Time?
I I'm not super sure. I know this is the one where they seal away Ganon. I think this might take place in the one where you succeed in
Oh, okay.
Ocarina. Because they seal
Oh,
away Ganon and Ganon gets out, I think, in Twilight Princess is the setup.
so maybe yeah, that whole thing I was about to say was wrong. But I think regardless, Twilight Princess. I think we're gonna have to argue this because I think what Twilight Princess has that Ocarina of Time doesn't is that it has different unique aspects. You know, you spend time as a wolf, you spend time as a human, and I think Twilight Princess had a lot. Honestly, I would say it had better dungeons. That's my statement. What do you have to say for that?
Um, I mean, I would disagree.
Uh,
Uh, I think, yeah, I agree that it's like the most uh mature one, and I understand if you like that. But in terms of dungeons, yes, some of the items were super cool,
mhm.
but I guess in some sense, Twilight Princess, and I don't even know how I feel about making this argument, but Twilight Princess's dungeons could only be that good since they're building on the basis of what Ocarina of Time did. Like having those items is really cool because we know what the original items is. Like the double claw shot, it's like, oh, that's cool because we just had a hook shot before. Now we have a double claw shot.
Yeah,
Or stuff like the ball and chain, like, yes, that's cool, but I feel like it's cool because it's different and it's not expected. It's Twilight Princess is good because it breaks some of the patterns that were set by Ocarina of Time. Uh, so I think that Twilight Princess is like a subset or just not as good as Ocarina of Time. One more thing I'll say to make my claim is I think that the mechanic of changing between the adult and child in
mhm.
Ocarina of Time is way better than the wolf mechanic in Twilight Princess. Um,
But
yeah,
how?
because the world is different in the young and old Link timeline, and like you can only do things in certain places. And the coolest thing is when you do something in the young Link timeline and it affects what's happening in the old Link timeline. Like uh like you'll plant a seed, literally plant a seed in the young Link timeline, and then you go back to the adult one and it's like it's grown now. Uh
That is
I
fair.
think that's a far cooler mechanic than just like turning into a wolf. I like the wolf mechanic; it's cool,
Yeah.
but I think that the Ocarina of Time mechanic's cooler. Furthermore, let me drop one more thing.
Go on.
The ocarina, like every one of these has like a item, a musical item, or most of them at least. The
Uh-huh.
3D ones do. The ocarina is far cooler than I don't even remember what you do in Twilight Princess. Do you even have an item?
Well, you have Midna, and through that you have access to like those portals and stuff, and you try
Right,
to find like her like armor, I guess is what you'd call it. The thing in the image, the components for that, and then
right.
the, like mirror shatters. You have to find the components for the mirror, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I I
Also, can't you only go from child link to adult link once? Like, isn't that just a change that's like non-reversible?
No, no, you just keep on going in that Master Sword room and
Oh, and you can
switching
just go
back
back
and
and forth.
forth willy-nilly.
Okay, I'm not. I don't remember that. Go ahead.
Do you, okay, name some memorable side quests from Twilight Princess.
The one where you like full on side quests or just like side like things that you could do?
Just whatever.
Because I know for Twilight Princess there was like that one like chicken one where you go into Lake Hylia from like a canyon. They like shoot you out of a canyon. You have to like collect the coins on the way down, and the more you get, like the higher chest you receive, something like that. There was also all of the you could use a wand and it would like move objects in like the real world, and there was some kind of benefit to doing that. I don't remember what the reward was. I think it might have just been hearts, but that was cool. um what else was there? There was the whole thing with there was something with the kids that you could do and like make them like you more, or like you could save them or something. There was also the side quest with the that man, the goblin that you could fight. Do you remember him? He was like always ride a boar. You meet him like 5 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the final encounter with him was really cool because if I remember correctly, in the final encounter, he like bows to you or something. Like he like shows respect to you, and like you don't kill him. You guys just like go your separate ways. Like respect is like mutual, so that was really cool. Um, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I feel like we are not going to get anywhere
I
on
don't
this.
either. Yeah,
Um, I'm gonna do this.
fair.
Or sorry.
Why'd that happen? Oh, there we go.
Wait, um,
I think this is the best course of action.
this is the only thing we can do.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and there's we are not declaring a victor here
yeah,
because it's too close to call.
yeah. I forgot we had
Uh,
another one, to be honest.
yeah, we should talk about Wind Waker.
Yes, we should.
Um, did you play Wind Waker?
No.
Okay, so Wind Waker, I think is a really good game.
Mhm.
I think it's A tier. I think it's below Majora's Mask, but above Skyward Sword probably. You explore on the boat like you probably did in Phantom Hourglass.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't think it's special. Like the dungeons aren't super memorable to me, not as
Okay.
memorable as they are in OOT or TP.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I feel like right here is where I would put it.
I remember a lot of people complaining about like traveling taking forever. Was that an actual thing, or were people just like complaining to complain?
It kind of did. I wasn't really hating,
Huh.
but yeah, it's a reasonable complaint.
Okay, that's fair. Um,
But that seems like a decent placement.
okay. Do you think any of these could be moved or anything like that?
unless you want to move Phantom Hourglass up, I feel good.
Um, I don't want to move Phantom Hourglass up. I actually just want to move Breath of the Wild just to D because, like we said at the beginning, it's just not a Zelda game, and I don't feel good about putting it on the same tier as A Link Between Worlds and Minish Cap. Even though I'll say it again, Breath of the Wild was a great game, and I played
Agreed.
through it like twice. It was a great game, but just not a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a better
Cool.
list.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, we will pop off next week with something else.
Yeah, we'll decide after this video. Like and subscribe. See you guys next week.